There are lots of scientists who would like to be in a position to be able to study this, you know?
Right.
And that's why we just need the attitudes to change so that they can do it openly and be given grants to do it. I mean, why not?
Greetings and welcome to the Vortex. I'm your host, Daniel Allen Jones, and I'm very honored to be here with Leslie Kean.
Great.
Leslie,
Good to be with you, Daniel.
You've had some amazing work throughout the years that's shown that the subject of UFOs, or unidentified aerial phenomenon, has been a more prominent subject coming into the mainstream media. And with your contribution as a contributing author to the New York Times release that came out at the end of 2017 about the Pentagon's UFO investigation program, this has really caught a lot of people's attention. So tell us, why is it important that we consider the government's involvement when we look at UFO or UAP investigations?
Well, I mean, the government involvement is important, you know, so I think because, number one, they have the tools to really go deeply into investigating cases because they have access to all the best technology. They can go to the CIA and say, take your best equipment and analyze this data for us. They have an ability to analyze things at a level that, you know, lay people don't have. And number two, they have the capability of changing the whole outlook within the status quo of how people see this. So the ridicule factor is going to go down if the more government involvement that we have, and the more that people know about it. So that, as an example, when the New York story came out of the New York Times at the end of 2017, it opened the door for members of Congress to receive briefings on this topic. And because it sort of elevated it, well, if the DoD is studying it, well, it's okay for us to take it seriously. So I think those are the two main reasons. That one, it changes attitudes about it and opens people up to be able to, you know, deal with it without feeling like fools. And there's really great investigations that can be done. The problem is, will they let us know about them? I think the other point is that once it becomes more acceptable, which happens as a result of government involvement, then the scientific community also has a door opening. And maybe the scientific world will be able to get more grants and funding and be able to do more studies within their universities or wherever they are, and get more resources for that. So sort of for all those things to happen, the government has to change its position on it. So in order to change position, they got to be involved, right?
Right.
And so and there's more involvement than we know about. I mean, this DoD program is not the only one. It just so happens that Lou Elizondo came forward and we were able to make it public. But think about all the other programs that are there that we don't even know about, but they are there and they are working on this. So the other question about it all is just the question of making it public.
Yeah.
You know,
I think it's one of the things that a lot of people, you ask anyone, have you ever seen or heard of a UFO story? And most everyone you can think of has someone or knows something that has happened in someone's life. And so it's not a too far off subject. It's just one that people have been ridiculed on so much that people aren't willing to come forward. So while we see a lot of military people coming forward and those personnel who have had encounters, they can come forward in a way that is changing the scope of what's generally acceptable, I think, across the board. And like you said, when we have the mainstream picking this up, a lot more attention is brought to just the general public and realizing, okay, maybe there is something to this. And so what would you say to the people who aren't part of government, who aren't military, just regular citizens, everyday people who have had an experience or sighting, and they're wanting to come forward and they're seeing the momentum being built by the information brought forward by people such as yourself? What can they do to help contribute in an effective way to this field that we're studying?
Yeah, I mean, I think that everybody's experiences are really important. And the reason I focus on the military ones are for the reasons we just discussed. That's sort of what I do as my job, you know, to try to bring those people forward. But I would encourage people, the more people that talk about this, the better off we are. And people like Terry Lovelace, there's all kinds of experiencers who have had the courage to come forward with their stories. And I would encourage people with experiences to get in touch with other people with experiences and to come forward with them. And I don't think that, I mean, I don't know. The question is how many people who have done that have regretted it.
Right.
I would assume the majority haven't regretted it. And, you know, the more we have of people doing that, obviously the more attention's going to be brought to it, and the more data there is, and the more records there are. But, you know, I know that that's been going on for many, many years, and it's just not enough to break down that wall, because the only way to really break down the wall, in my opinion, is to get to the official level. But that doesn't mean that people shouldn't. The more people talk about it, the better, obviously.
Right.
But, I mean, everybody has to consider their own personal risks of doing that, unfortunately. But I think, as you said, the risks are diminishing now.
Well, I think when you have prominent figures coming forward and people generally look to those figures, whether it's through media, television, public appearances, to really feel like it's a more acceptable, inviting place to be in a way that they're not feeling like they can suppress that experience or story that they have.
Right.
And one of the great examples of this, something that you've pointed out, is Dr. Michio Kaku has come forward and in more recent times made more of a consideration of the subject based upon your work and the books that you've come out with, and I think is a good contributing factor to that. So how has that been, seeing someone like Michio Kaku giving high praise to your work?
It's been great. I mean, after my book came out, I guess we're at Rice University now, so I showed this clip yesterday in a talk I gave of Michio saying, this book is about as close as it gets to the smoking gun. That's what he said on MSNBC. He says, we need an alien chip, right? Which
Right.
he has said many times to really drive it home. Anyway, he's just such a character, and I think he's one of the smartest guys on the planet. And he's really open-minded, and he understands how a very advanced civilization could travel here, which a lot of physicists still can't really open their minds to. You know, he's talked about type 1, type 2, type 3 civilizations and all of that. So
Right.
yeah, to have him sort of say to the scientific world, we got to look at this, we've got to take it seriously, it really means a lot. I mean, probably a lot of them consider him sort of on the fringe because he said it.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there are plenty of others who think that. They just don't have the courage to say it. There are lots of scientists who would like to be in a position to be able to study this, you know?
Right.
And that's why we just need the attitudes to change so that they can do it openly and be given grants to do it. I mean, why not?
Well, speaking of attitudes changing, there are a lot of people out there who still think this is all nonsense or make-believe, or people
Hard to
are having
believe.
hallucinations or mass hysteria. What would you say of people in that mindset?
I would just tell them to look at the data. I mean, to look at some of the cases, the best military cases on record, where they can't doubt the credibility of the people reporting this. They can't doubt radar data, right? Photographs, multiple military witnesses. The last thing these people want to do is come forward with some ridiculous story and have it have a negative effect on their careers. I mean, why would they be talking about this? You know, so there's so many cases that are so well documented and with official data. All you have to do is look at those. And I think it's very hard that I tried to do that in my book, which came out in 2010, so it's been 9 years, but for anybody to go through and look at those very, very, very best cases, there's no way they could explain away every single one of them, right? It only takes one case. It only takes, what Stanton Friedman used to famously say, right? It just takes one UFO to be extraterrestrial or to be something other than man-made for that to be shown that it's real. So, I mean, we know they're real. The question is what they are.
Right.
But, you know, none of these people are making these things up, because the impact on them is only negative when they even talk about it, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess some people think, oh, these guys are making money off of it, or they want, I mean, you know, it's the
Sure.
opposite.
Yeah,
They don't benefit from talking about it.
it's something that I think a lot of people have this idea of, but don't really know the inner workings. And like you said, it's something that is more of a detriment to anyone that comes forward than not. So
Right.
you've done some incredible work. So those who are interested in following up and keeping up with you and what you have coming out, where can they go to find out more?
I would suggest going to my Facebook page. It's just my name. It's an open page. You don't have to like be a friend or anything like that. I'm not very sophisticated on social media, but and then I have a website too, which has a lot of the past media stuff that I've done on this topic, including when I was on Stephen Colbert, which was such a blast. So if you go, the website is survivingdeathkane.com, because it's got the title of my newest book in it. But it's got all my UFO stuff there too. And my last name is spelled Kean for people who don't know that. But you can go to Facebook and link to that page too. So, and I have a pretty active page, although So the last few years I've been very involved in working on this documentary series based on my book Surviving Death, which has made my participation in Facebook a little less frequent than it has been in the past because I've been traveling a lot for that. And there aren't a lot of things that come up for me to post about. Sometimes I'm looking for stuff to post, but
Yeah.
I do my best to stay on it, and I really enjoy the conversations that take place on my page. Because a lot of people come on, we have a lot of great comments from people. So I think that's a great place to connect, yeah.
Right, well, it seems like we need to continue the discussion when it comes to all of these fascinating topics, things that you've been involved with for a while. We're finding new discoveries every day, and I like to think we won't know if we don't go, and you've done just that. You've connected a lot of these different dots together, whether it comes to the military, the UFO phenomenon with consciousness and life after death. It all seems to be something that we can learn a lot from. So I'd like to thank you for your time here
today. Thanks for
today.
spending time with me. It's been great to hang out with you here
And
at Rice University, which is an amazing place. Well,
And we need to see more of this taking place at the academic level to kind of set the new standard for what we can really share with the world. So we'll keep in mind that there's something to be found in every place that has an opportunity for growth, and we'll see you guys in the Vortex.
Thanks very much.
If you liked this video, be sure to check out our other content and get connected on our page and social media sites. Every day, new discoveries are being made all across the world and beyond, so let's work together to find out what's next. And remember, we won't know if we don't go. I'll see you in the Vortex.